WRC Fox 6 News. First Alert Weather Extra starts now.
Welcome into First Alert Weather Extra. Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt. We are going to be talking about some less humid air making its way into parts of our area over the next several days. As we go to our graphics here, just want to show you first off a live look from Coleman and 79. Look at the big change in temperature. This time yesterday it felt more like 105 in these parts of the coverage area. Winds gusting up to 14. Just a nice little taste of fall-like air making its way south here in August. You know, so almost like a late September air mass, quite honestly. But the weather will change again by the weekend. It's still August, so the heat comes back, the mugginess, and that's something we'll watch out for as we move into the weekend. That's one of the next big things that we're going to be talking about. But let's check out another live look here. This is from the 911 tower, one of the new sky vision views that we have from Jacksonville, Alabama. And you can see this camera gives us a nice little view there around the Jacksonville area. And in fact, I noticed a few moments ago, it looked like a football team was practicing outdoors, and what an evening for practicing. Hey, you talk about some football weather. The football fever will be in full swing here over the next couple of days. A comfortable north wind, coolest air since early June, less muggy with sunshine the next 2 days. All right, let's talk about it. We've got a front making its way south across the southeastern U.S. Behind that front, you can see the atmosphere really drying out. What you're looking at, this is a water vapor satellite image. So what we're doing is we're looking at mid-levels of the atmosphere, and this is telling us, you can see the dry versus the saturated air where it's really starting to dry out here. So all that deeper tropical moisture moving south. You can actually see some of the severe thunderstorm warning polygons far south Alabama, south to places like Andalusia, dealing with those storms. That's all pushing south towards the coast, but the dry air is making it south, and it looks like that is going to become well established here across west central and east Alabama. The winds 5 to 15 miles per hour out of the north direction. That breeze is just going to make it feel extra comfy for this evening, and all the rain's moved out of here. 77 in Haleyville, 77 in Hamilton. Still kind of hot to the south, but when you look at the forecast temperatures, you'll notice that what you see is what you get, where the heat index is going away, thankfully, because of the dry air. But Andalusia, I mentioned, you can see right there some intense thunderstorms now down into South Alabama. We're tracking severe storms, looks like near Escambia County, and you go back in towards Baldwin County, some heavy storms and rain, and all this is going to drop south. It's probably going to be quite stormy there closer to the Gulf Coast later on tonight as that front continues to push towards the south. And we'll have to watch that front as it drops in across the coastal region. That's going to set up a trough, and those are areas we got to watch as we move ahead. This evening we're going to stay dry. Looks like those temperatures will tumble again into the low 60s tomorrow morning, but very comfortable. What a forecast there. One of the nicest hourly forecasts we've seen in quite some time, because less humid, north wind making it feel nice out there. And again, those lows, maybe a few upper 50s in a few areas. But the tropics, things could become a bit more active over the next 7 to 14 days, looking ahead at the next couple of weeks, several systems. But that's to be expected because we are getting closer to the peak of hurricane season. The Gulf of Mexico, it's like bath water. It is plenty warm, but we are seeing a lot of the dust off of Africa, which is helping to inhibit storm development. That's been a factor also helping with this tropical season. But we'll get into the tropics. That's coming up right here on First Alert Weather Extra. Also coming up right here on Weather Extra, we're going to do check out the rain across the globe. More on the lower humidity, the wildfires. We've been telling you about the fires that happened in Maui. We're going to update you on the beyond the 7-day forecast and take you to North Carolina, where we are finding some fossils. We'll show you after the break.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome into Good Day, Alabama.
A new morning comes with preparing right, because while you slept, news broke.
We have new information from that breaking news that happened this morning.
While you head out, the storm we gave you the first alert for is on its way in. And as the key turns the ignition, your shorter route to work is being found.
Avoid 459 southbound completely because of a crash.
A new morning means everything you need for a good day is on Good Day Alabama, always on your side.
the First Alert traffic you need to get you there safe and on time. Tomorrow morning, everything you need for a good day is on Good Day Alabama.
You're late, out the door, and on the go. Don't worry.
Good Day Alabama continues all morning long.
And wherever you watch, this is what you need to know right now.
More reporters on the streets with more hours of news when you need it. Everything you need for a good day is on Good Day Alabama. Knowing first is everything. First Alert Weather.
Welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. I'm meteorologist Lauren Linehan with some heat relief finally on the way over the next couple of days. Meteorologist Matt Daniel joins us now as he talks about just how hot it got in our area yesterday.
Well, happy Tuesday. We're in that transition today, going from the gross weather we experienced yesterday to some pleasant weather going into Wednesday. But let's go ahead and recap what happened yesterday. Here's a look at those temperatures, the high temperatures for Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, and Anniston. Birmingham hit 97, 98 was the high in Tuscaloosa, and 96 was the high in Anniston. Our average high for this time of year is in the lower 90s, and as you can see, we were nowhere near those record high territory, which was right around 104 to 106. But look at the temperatures that were recorded. Demopolis, 101. That was one of the hottest spots in the state. Montgomery, just shy of hitting that century mark at 99. These are the actual temperatures yesterday, by the way. Sylacauga hit 99. Tuscaloosa, like I said, 98. Then as you go towards Gadsden, you had a high temperature of 96. But what about those heat index values? What it felt like? It definitely felt like this yesterday. I was driving, the air AC was not working for me. It was just wouldn't cool me down because it felt like it was 115 in Gadsden and Montgomery, felt like 114 at one point in Tuscaloosa, and it felt like 113 in Anniston, felt like 111 in Birmingham. And on top of that, we actually broke some records, not for the high temperatures, but for the low temperatures. It was so warm, we actually tied the warmest low temperature, the record daily high minimum temperature in Birmingham of 76, which happened back in 2007. In Tuscaloosa, you broke your old record low for the warmest record low temperature. You recorded 77 yesterday, and that old record was 76 back in 2010. One reason why we may have seen such high dew points, so much moisture, is those southerly winds from the Gulf of Mexico. And this is a meteorologist, Michael Alory, posted this on X, aka Twitter, mentioning that the Gulf of Mexico this week was the hottest it's been at any point in any year on record by a wide margin. Weekly average Gulf sea surface temperatures have never broken 87 degrees, but at this week it topped 88. Which is an astonishing 2.6 degrees above the 1991 to 2020 average. So that is very impressive and also alarming because when we are entering the peak of the hurricane season, we're going to have to watch for any systems that move out there. And by the way, NOAA put out their latest research, and they have confirmed that July was the hottest on record. And their records go back all the way 174 years ago, and it was the fourth consecutive month of record high global ocean surface temperatures. And in Antarctica, sea ice coverage had a record low in July for the third consecutive month. And they have also mentioned that the global surface temperature for July was 2.2 degrees Fahrenheit above average, making it the warmest July in NOAA's 174-year global climate record. And so these are small degrees when you're watching this, but when it's above 1 or 2 degrees, that's actually pretty significant when it comes to understanding the climate across the globe. So a lot of this has to do with El Nino that's developing that normally will rise global temperatures. So that is something we're going to have to watch as we go into the next several months. But it's going to be an interesting weather pattern over the next several months. El Nino can obviously cause a big influence on the weather patterns all across the globe.
Thanks, Matt. Well, parts of the southeast dealt with heat on Monday. Other parts dealt with severe storms, bringing damage to parts of Tennessee. Up to 7 inches of rain fell in Monroe County overnight. The entire town of Tellico Plains had some form of flooding. Mayor Marilyn Parker says the water treatment plant was damaged and she is concerned about fresh water. It is not known how long it could take to get water service restored. And around the world, in Japan, an evacuation warning has been issued for more than 200,000 people as Typhoon Lan impacts western Japan. The typhoon made landfall Tuesday morning with winds equivalent to a Category 2 hurricane in the Atlantic Basin. And in 2 Japanese towns, rainfall in just a few short hours exceeded the average for the entire month of August. It also caused power outages to tens of thousands of homes and left 26 people injured, according to Japanese fire officials. And continuing coverage on the wildfires in Hawaii, crews and first responders are working as fast as they can to make the wildfire zone safe. But residents are becoming frustrated by their inability to return home. Fox's Jake Karalexis has more from Maui.
A whole city destroyed. Generations of native Hawaiian history turned into ruin.
It's been a week since the massive wildfire broke out in West Maui, and officials here are still assessing the damage. Only 25% of the burn zone has been surveyed, and the remains of 99 victims have been recovered so far. Thousands remain homeless, and President Biden says more help is on the way, promising more federal resources as the recovery effort ramps up.
Every asset they need, we'll be there for them. And we'll be there in Maui as long as it takes.
But anxious residents are getting impatient with the speed of the response. Some say they've had little communication with either the state or federal governments, and they're starting to doubt help will be there for them in the long term.
You need to step it up and just prove it right now. Prove that Lahaina is going to come first over everything right now. You know, that the people of Lahaina will not get displaced.
And as folks wait for the green light to return to what's left of their homes, local aid groups are stepping up their activities on Maui. Many of the volunteers were displaced themselves, and they say helping others is part of the healing process.
I was devastated. I was a wreck. I needed mental health, and I considered myself a strong leader, but it broke me. It still breaks me. This is what keeps me going, helping people.
And as first responders continue combing the area, Hawaii's governor warns the death toll could double. In Maui, Jake Karalexis, Fox News.
And the U.S. Coast Guard is on the ground in Maui addressing potential environmental impacts of the fire. They have deployed pollution response teams with special equipment, including a 100-foot boom placed at the Lahaina harbor. It will contain potential hazardous contaminants and materials. The Coast Guard will continue to be on standby to respond to any new reports of individuals in the ocean. The U.S. Coast Guard rescued 17 people last week who went into the Pacific to escape the wildfire flames as they ripped through their community. And back on the West Coast, a wildfire near Highway 126 in Lane County, Oregon, has residents on high alert. Many people in Blue River have begun moving personal belongings such as trailers and supplies in the event that the fire continues to grow. The fire is at 0% contained as U.S. Forest Service warns that everyone in the area should begin planning for if there is an evacuation notice. Another fire burned land there nearly 3 years ago. Farther south, the Texas A&M Forest Service also has brought in dozens of aircraft to help in the fight against rampant wildfires across the Lone Star State. Andrew Freeman has a closer look at the Super Scoopers in action.
Just a giant yellow beast. It's made to fight fire. That's all it's made to do. That's all it does.
Alec Kirby has been a Super Scooper pilot for 2 years.
We've been flying every day while we're on shift. And so all of the guys here that fly and gals, we love flying. There's not many people here who look at it just as a job.
His plane is one of 30 brought in by the Texas A&M Forest Service just a couple weeks ago to help fight wildfires across the state.
95,000 football fields worth of land has been burned so far. The bulk of that has actually burned in the last 6 to 7 weeks.
Associate Director and Fire Chief Wes Moorhead says taking the fight to the air helps control the fires with excellent precision.
They are well received on the fire line. As an instant commander, as a firefighter, when you see aviation assets like the Super Scoopers come, you know that action is going to be taken on that fire. You know that help has arrived.
The Super Scoopers use water from nearby lakes for rapid delivery. They can carry 1,400 gallons of water, the equivalent of 3 fire engines.
Really, if you have a lake nearby, it's the best plane for it because you can just hit the lake, hit the fire over and over and over.
Alex says the hard work happens on the ground, but the real joy is doing what he can to help.
We don't put the fires out. We just kind of hold it and keep it until those guys can get on the ground, dig lines, push with dozer line, whatever it takes.
Well, up in the Rockies, federal officials plan to ease water restrictions on the Colorado River for 2024. This comes after the state had above average winter precipitation and snowpack, which helped the plummeting water levels at the nation's 2 largest reservoirs. And even though there is still a shortage, officials say it is a vast improvement. The river can also continue supplying fresh water to Arizona, Nevada, and Mexico. Federal officials also say that Lake Mead has shown significant improvement due to the good winter. They project that the reservoir likely won't fall below a critical level for the next 2 years. That's great news. Well, coming up next on First Alert Weather Extra, we have more information about the rest of your week and what to expect with these lower rain chances and, best of all, lower humidity. And I'll take you beyond the 7-day. We'll be right back.
We heard the first alert. Mom says we have to go. She says I don't have time to grab any more toys.
Need to be in your tornado safe place. Get there right now as you have.
We have to get to our safe place because sometimes when you hear the siren, it's too late. That's why she says knowing first is everything.
We know weather can be grab the umbrella or jogging shoes, but it's so much more. It's a science, an art, led by knowledge and experience.
And no one has more of that than a WBRC First Alert weather team.
Warning you first with more hours committed to you. And the first forecast built to see weeks, days, and even minutes ahead, right down to where you live. From the team you trust on your favorite screen.
Doing the weather better. The WBRC First Alert weather team always on your side.
The first alert is more than a warning. It's a promise. A promise to get you out of harm's way with plenty of time to spare. 4 walls and a roof can be replaced. Lives can't. That's why knowing first is everything. First Alert Weather.
Well, some exciting news coming up September the 11th right here. First Alert Weather Extra will be live on WBRC Fox 6 weekdays at 6:30. So just another great way you can watch us here on Weather Extra. We got a lot of big plans and a lot of great stories that we're going to be bringing you. Nectar right now, what a view. This is like a postcard photo here. This is from the Sky Vision camera there in Blount County. 80 degrees and the winds gusting to 13 miles per hour. Winds out of the north direction. Tuscaloosa, 85. What a turnaround. I'll tell you, this is a cold front. I mean, a 10 to 20 degree drop in temperatures from this time yesterday. We've got winds gusting to 21 miles per hour. And I hear you. Looks like somebody's about to go out for a little cruise there. Got the pontoon boat ready to go. almost wish we could just jump in right and just cruise right there at sunset time. 85, the current temperature. The humidity is much lower. It's 50%. We call it relative humidity because it is relative. It goes up, it fluctuates throughout the day, but compared to the past couple of days, these lower dew points, that is going to make a big difference. It won't feel quite as hot, quite as steamy. Live look from Southern Sky Aviation, Birmingham Airport. We're at 84 degrees. What does it feel like right now in Birmingham? Well, it feels like 84. That's the thing. The heat index goes away when you take away all that muggy air. And the same for us here in East Alabama, 84. And it feels like 86. We're getting there. It looks like in the morning, again, for parts of East Alabama, we could be waking up to those temperatures in the upper 50s. At last check, our weather watcher Jennifer McAfee in Cordova, Walker County, 82, 0.12 of an inch of rain. We did get some storms, those isolated storms we told you about yesterday that impacted the area overnight. Alabaster, 84, but dry. John King checking in. Another pick location, Debbie Alexander, 83 degrees. So all around, we're finally seeing those more pleasantly warm temperatures settling in. But we will stay dry through the overnight. Looking at the next 24 hours, notice at the top of the screen here, the forecast winds. We still have that light north breeze in the morning. Talk about a morning there. Just may want to open up the windows, let some fresh air in the house there early in the day. Give that AC a break early on. A nice break in the heat wave that we've been dealing with. 2 o'clock tomorrow, temperatures showing up in the low 80s, upper 70s. A nice afternoon and still maybe a few fair weather clouds. No rain expected. Again, we will stay dry. So mowing, doing some yard work. Maybe you've been waiting to get out there and clean up. I know it's just been too hot to get out there and do any strenuous activities, but the next couple of days, yeah, you got the thumbs up. Some nice weather Friday as well, but also looks like by the weekend, the heat will come back. That's one of the next things I mentioned we'd be talking about, the heat index back on the increase. There's a chance next week we could see some unsettled weather here across the Gulf of Mexico. We'll just need to watch it. Some of the global data has been showing off and on possibility of some developments here. Bottom line on this, if you're heading to the Gulf Coast this weekend, you won't have any problems. We're going to see scattered showers and thunderstorms. But any disturbance, as warm as the Gulf of Mexico is, getting into the peak of hurricane season, the upper level environment becomes more favorable for development. And developments in the tropics, it doesn't take a week, it doesn't take 2 weeks. It can happen in a matter of a day or 2 days. Things can develop, things can evolve quickly in the tropics. That's why any of these disturbances we will need to monitor. And there are a couple of easterly waves that are moving off the coast of Africa. Here's the thing, out ahead of this, there's a lot of dust in the atmosphere. In fact, that's going to have a big impact on air quality across Florida over the next few days, the Saharan dust layer as we call it, and that may keep these systems on the weaker side, but we'll keep a watch on what happens as those make their way off towards the west direction. First alert heat index, you can see up to 106 by Sunday, so the hot weather comes back as we move ahead. You can see this weekend, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, just a few isolated afternoon storms, so we will gradually bring in those isolated rain chances. First alert for some hotter weather with the highs back in the mid-90s. It's August, so you know it's not going to last. As we go to meteorologist Lauren Linehan. Lauren, at least though we get a couple of days here. I was going back, it looked like maybe June 3rd when we last saw temperatures there in the low 60s area-wide.
Yeah, Wes, I'm just saying, do not get your hopes up. This will feel nice for a few days, but it really does look like beyond the 7-day, we have the potential for some brutal heat again. And you can see Alabama's right in that little bubble where it even looks like a higher likelihood for above average temperature 6 to 10 days from now. So likely as we're getting into the latter half of August, just going to be cranking up the heat even more. So we'll enjoy these fall vibes while they last. Now, I want to tell you, this model data right here, this particular model I'm showing you, the American model, has run very hot all summer. So I don't necessarily believe as we get into the middle latter half of next week that, oh my goodness, temperatures are going to get in the hundreds. But temperatures don't have to get into the hundreds to be dangerous. We saw that this past week with temperatures only in the mid upper 90s, but with the humidity, it felt well above 100 degrees. So we'll definitely want to be cautious as that humidity ramps back up as we get into the weekend and likely staying high next week. But hey, maybe some signs of some cooler weather in the forecast, and as cool as it can get in late August, right? So here are the potential low temperatures, still looking very mild next week, but again, showing the possibility of maybe as we get into next weekend, a cool down. The thing is, that may not necessarily be because, ooh, a front's coming through that could be something like a rainmaker that could be coming through. But 6 to 10 days from now, it does look like the general pattern here as we go into this week and a little bit beyond that is favoring below average precipitation. So we may need a little break after all the storms we've been seeing recently. Certainly need a break from the heat. But I want to take you to what Wes was mentioning. You know, when you get Saharan dust in the atmosphere, that can affect air quality. And often on those hot, humid days, the air quality is not all that great. Well, here's a new study. Pollution could be raising dementia risks according to some new research. This research finds those who live in areas with high levels of air pollution from agriculture or wildfires are more likely to develop dementia than those who don't live in air polluted areas. This is compared to other types of pollution, such as sources from cars or construction sites. This research was conducted from 1998 to 2016 and more than 27,000 people. Well, scientists in North Carolina want man's best friend to be around a lot longer. I could definitely agree with that. They are leading new research to delay the aging process in dogs. As Brett Neese reports, it appears to already be showing signs of success.
Evan Blount has had his pug for 9 years and can't imagine life without him.
Well, he's with me all the time. I've often referred to him as my shadow. He sleeps with me in the bed. He's just, if I move out of the room, he's in the next room with me.
Unfortunately, no dog lives forever. But Dr. Natasha Olby at NC State is on a mission to give dog lovers a little more time with their best friends.
When I see the ravages of aging in the clinic every day as a veterinarian and how we tend to shy away from the very complicated cases that have multiple problems, of course that becomes more intriguing to me.
Her research began in 2018 and it's now in the late stages of their first clinical trial. Olby is looking at whether or not certain supplements can slow the aging process. The goal is to keep a dog's mind sharp and maintain its senses and mobility.
We know that we can quantify many of these changes very safely. We didn't want to cause any harm, but in addition that dogs actually really enjoy it, so it's quite positive for them.
70 dogs are in this study. One group received the supplement while the other received a placebo. It wraps up in December.
It's pretty terrifying, particularly if you see a big effect. You're always like, oh, is that going to be the placebo or is it going to be what we're testing? But it's very exciting and it's what all the owners want to know as well.
While this research won't make our dogs live forever, it could give us more quality time. And for owners like Blount, well, that's priceless.
Not only is it probably good for the dogs, it's probably good for humans as well. But, you know, if we can have these guys a little longer, it's excellent.
Brett Neese,
Oh, it's going to make me tear up. Well, Dr. Olby and the team plan to review their study results at some point after December. Well, in South Carolina, there was an interesting find in the water. Fossils uncovered along Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, could be up to 100,000 years old. This fossilized beach has a very low tide revealed, is almost as old as Earth's most recent ice age. A local expert says remains like these are often underneath the feet of beachgoers and swimmers, very casual. Usually a thin layer of sand covers them closer to shore. Farther out in the water, they create a good habitat for fish. That's really cool, and man, I don't care if there are fossils floating around. I'm ready to go to the beach and cool off. Well, we will have an update on your forecast tonight coming up on First at 9. So make sure you check in with Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt then. And of course, we'll always have updates on the First Alert Weather app. You can join us here on Weather Extra every weeknight at 6:30 on your favorite streaming platform. And as Wes said, hey, we're going to TV when it comes to September 11th and beyond. I'm meteorologist Lauren Linehan. Have a safe and happy Tuesday evening.